Hello, and hello again. Thank you for always joining us here on this channel to listen to what we have to say and guests we have invited to educate us, inspire us, inform us, because we know that with a tool of information, we can go far. Ignorance is no excuse in law. So we are here again to learn from a professional, a seasoned professional at that, and he's been in this line of talk for years and years, and he will be telling us more about it. Today is about will awareness on will and trust planning. I'm sure many people will be saying, oh well, I'm too young to die now, so I'll keep that to later. Oh, let me tell you, I'm sure a guest is going to tell us why we need it now more than ever before. So, without further ado, I would just like to say thank you to those who have always been joining, those who are here, those of you hiding behind, watching. You can always comment and say something and say, hello or whatever it is to our guest and ask questions. Yes, please ask questions. There are questions that have been posted before now, and those questions are ones we will be using for this to help us with the talk for today. And the questions are on Slido. I'm sure it's some of you have put your questions there. Yes, all of these are the questions that have been asked, and we are going to be just going straight to the point, asking our guests these questions, because these are questions that people like you and I have asked. And without further ado, I will welcome on the screen Mr. Murele Mr. Niyi Murele. Thank you very much for coming, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. I hope you can hear me very well.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Thank you very much for bringing us on today.
Thank you. So what I will do is I'll just say briefly, what I think I know about you, or what I've read from your profile about you, and that is where is that now? Yes, that is that you are a principal consultant of Kingdom Wealth Management, an associate partner of St. James Place Wealth Management, which is a FTSE 100 company with over 150 billion clients asset under management and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority in the United Kingdom. You're qualified and authorized individual who offers holistic financial advisory services to individuals, groups, and corporate organizations. So you are in the best position to tell us about will and trust for trust planning today. Um, I know I have just touched a tip of the iceberg introducing you. So could you please introduce yourself properly to us, to the viewers?
Well, I think you've said a lot. There isn't much to say more than what you have said in terms of introduction. That paragraph you've read kind of captures everything. Being a web manager, I've been in the industry for a period of going to 20 years now, and within that period of time, it's been that we've been able to help individuals and individuals and corporate organizations in ensuring that they achieve their financial plans and goals. And we and trust planning is part of financial planning. It's extremely important. It's something that a lot of people don't know that uh, your financial goals and objective is not just about now. It's something that is about even when you're no longer here, because you labor, you work, you put everything together, and you want it to be something that can be transferred to the next generation in a way that you desire, not the way that the Lord desire, not the way that somebody from outside will come and say, okay, this is the way they're going to distribute everything that you have worked for. So that's why what you're doing today, and I need to commend your effort in creating this platform and creating awareness about different things that is quite essential. Unfortunately, this is one area that a lot of people we ignore, and like rightly said, we think, well, I'm not dying now. That's it, and that's why I believe what we're going to do today is actually to delve into it and to redefine the reason why and the narrative that necessitate that people must make sure that they don't ignore this area of their financial plans, thinking, well, I will leave it till tomorrow. And I have a lot of stories that I can tell along that area, that a lot of people think that they will leave it till tomorrow, and unfortunately, they were not able to do anything, with it, and it created a lot of problem for them and the survivor, the family they left behind, because they didn't do the right thing. So I think we're going to have an awesome time tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Someone called Missing Link. It says his name is Theophilus. Yes, I think it's who I think it is. Says thanks for the education and broadening our knowledge. Thank you, thank you. So appreciating your effort even before we start. Thank you for finding time. All right, so we'll go straight into it, and that is, what is a will?
Okay, a will is actually a legal document that an individual put in place, that carries, or that kind of contain the way the person wants his or her assets to be distributed when the person is no longer here. Uh, it's a document that kind of expresses the way an individual wants his or her estate to be distributed when he or she is no longer here. It's a legal document, and I need to say that again and again. So a will is a document whereby you put in that document the way you want your estate, and your estate is everything you have, everything you own, basically. So your properties, you have investment portfolio, whatever it is that you have that constitutes your estate. That is those things that goes into the document that becomes a will, which of course, in that document you express the way you want your estate to be distributed. Who you want to take A, B, C, D is expressed in that document, and it's that document that speaks on your behalf. Even though you are dead, but you are still speaking. You are no longer here, but you left a voice behind. If that voice is not there, you create a vacuum whereby people will do things just the way they think it's deemed fit. So a will is a legal document that helps you, that makes you to speak even after you're dead, but you are still speaking. I don't know whether that makes sense. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
that makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much. A will is like the voice you leave behind.
Yeah,
Even when you're dead, you're still speaking.
speaking.
I like that.
Great.
Well,
Great.
thank you very much. That drives home the point. So why do I need a will? Why do we need a will?
So basically, what I mean, there are many reasons why will is very important. Because if a lot of people will say, yeah, I've got, I mean, I've worked, I have properties, I have money in my account, I have all these sort of things in different places, and you need the will in order to specify the person that you want to inherit from your estate, right? The person that you want to give those things to when they are no longer here, when you are gone. So you need the will. It is the will that helps you to say, when I'm not here, right, I want someone to take over this. If for any reason there is no will, then what it means is that you have no expression. You have not indicated who is going to take what, who is going to take A, B, C, D. And when that is the case, when there is no will, then what you have done is you have created a vacuum, right?
Mm,
And that vacuum is that now the law of the land will step in, right, in order to dictate how your estate is going to be distributed. When someone dies without a will, they say the person died intestacy, right? And because you die intestate, then the law of intestacy will apply. And that law basically may not be the way you want your estate to be distributed. But unfortunately, because you didn't leave any voice behind, the law will step in, take over, and your estate will be distributed according to the law of intestate. That's why you need a will.
wow, wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. I can see Michael Adiola here saying, God bless you, Dr. Bumi. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for writing comments. Thank you for um, asking questions, because we have limited questions on here. And we will go to the next question. From here, I can see, I think the next one we should talk about is, how long does will writing take? Is it a lengthy process?
Well, it depends on how voluminous your estate is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think how long is just it depends on how complex or how complicated your estate is. If your estate is very simple, if it's probably a few things that you just need to spread out. So it's actually the volume or the complexity of your estate that will determine how long you need, because it's just writing. You sit down, what are the things that I have? I have A, B, C, D, E. And of course, you know who you want those things to go to. So it doesn't have to take time. It just depends on what have you got. But for someone who has estate in different part of the world, you have in America, you have in UK, you have in Nigeria, you
Mm,
have all over the place, and you are very rich. Of course, your will would be something that it takes a bit of time for you to sit down and know how to put things in place, basically. So the length of time is actually it depends on the complexity of your estate as well,
okay.
how huge your estate is. Otherwise, if it's not something that is of huge volume of asset within your estate, then it's quite easy to do. You can write a will in less than 1 hour.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So, on the average, how does it take for average people who haven't got loads of stuff, who have got at least something? On the average, not patients now, going hospital mode. Clients you've dealt with, how on the average, how long does it take from start to finish? From the time they start calling you, say, okay, I want to write a will, to the time it's ready. Is it
So
1 week,
so
2 months?
so again, let's back off with this. Let's talk about the process of actually putting a will in
Okay.
place, and you know what the time is.
Okay.
And the process is basically the first thing you need to do if you want to write a will is you need to sit down, depending on the fact that whether you are single or you are married. Okay, if you're on your own, and basically what it means is that you have control over everything that you are. You own things all by yourself. So all you have to do is you have to call yourself to a meeting, sit down with yourself, and say, okay, this is what I've got. So the first thing is to know what you have. Okay,
Mhm.
so when you have when you know what you have a list of what you have, and of course you have a list of who do I want to inherit A, B, C, D. Okay, so you do that. I don't know how long that's going to take you in terms of time. It is
Mm,
after you have done that that you now think of, okay, this will that I want to do I want to do it myself, or do I want to get online will community there for me, or do I actually want to go and speak to a professional solicitor, sit down with them and actually discuss the content of what I want with them. Okay, so and I'm saying this so that you know this thing in terms of time. It's not something that I can say, oh, it takes a week, it takes 2 weeks. You can do all this in 1 day if you want. Okay, but of course, it depends on what method you adopt, and then we need to speak about that, because if you're going to do a DIY yourself, you do it yourself, whereby you get the will pack, you get all the whatever, then you sit down, you list your assets, and then of course you put the names of people that you want to inherit, whatever. You can pre-populate that in 1 hour. You may be done. You'll be done in less than 1 hour. Okay,
mm,
and the only thing that when you have, let's assume you are doing it yourself, right? After you have put all the information into the will pack or into the will document, the only thing you need then is you need to make sure that because your will to be valid it has to be signed, dated, and witnessed as well. So, and you need that to make it valid. So after you have done what you're supposed to do, you make sure that all those things are done. The moment you get all those things in place, where you get a witness by someone, you sign, you date, then it's become a valid document. You can do that in a day, basically, if you are committed to, if you have everything ready. But at the
mm,
same time, like I said earlier on, if your case is whereby you need to, you have a huge, estate where it's all over the place and you need information about A, B, C, D,
mm,
gathering that information might take you days, it might take you weeks, basically. And if you're going to be using an online company, after you have made up your mind about the things you want to do, who you want your assets to go to, you need to send that information to them. Some of them might say, well, we'll get back to you in 2 days, in 3 days, whichever way, right? Then they
mm,
send you probably the finished document, or draft document of your will for you to vet, and you look at it. When you are satisfied with it, you send it back to them, that it's okay. Then they send you the original copy that you still need to print, sign, date, and witness as well. So that's another thing. Or maybe you're kind of thinking, I want to go and speak to a solicitor about it. So that's why I can't say, oh, maybe it's going to be a week, it's 2 or 3. It's your priority, how you put things, that would determine how quickly you can actually get a will in place.
Okay, great, great, great. Thank you very much. All protocols observed. There's Abose Oyelaki asking a question here. Thank you very much, Mary Mfongwa, also here. Thank you very much for coming on. Now to the question of Bose Oyelaki. It says, is there age validity for a will? I mean, can someone be considered too old to write his or her will or change his or her will for one reason or the other?
Now, the answer is capital no. As a matter of fact, what you're going to what you need to know is that you write a will today, okay, you need to be conscious of the fact that there could be occasions whereby you actually make sure that your will is up to date from time to time. So for the fact that you write it today doesn't mean, oh, I've written it, I'm not going to touch it again. You might need to review your will. You might need to, adjust your will. And it's something that you do continuously if there is a need to do it. If there is no need to do it, that's fine. But what you need to note is that our financial position, your financial situation changes from time to time, right? Sometimes, it's kind of agreed that, your financial status or position kind of changes every 6 years. So when you are, let's say you're putting a will in place today, you have only one property. In 2, 3, 4, 5 years time, you bought about 4 or 5 properties. Your estate has kind of increased in that manner, or maybe you've actually started some investment portfolio. You're putting some money into some investment, or you things have changed. And because things have changed, you need to make sure that from time to time your will reflect your present status, right? It reflects your current status and your wishes as well. So more often than not, I mean, every year when I go to do review with my clients, the number one of the questions that I ask them is, do you have a valid will in place? Not just do you have a will in place, but do you have a valid one that represents your current wishes, what you want, the, the way you want it. Because over the years, maybe you did a will 5 years ago, many things could have changed. Maybe there are certain people that you wanted to give something before, but you don't want to give them anything again, for whatever reason. It could be the years of chaos. Anything could have changed, and those things have to be reflected in your will. Otherwise, you have a will that does not represent actually your wishes as at the time that you actually need it more.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. There's a question in line with what you've just said, but I'll take this one that says, what makes a will valid?
A will is valid when it's written. Okay. Number one, it is written black and white, right? And it is signed by the person that put the will in place. Okay. So written, signed, and witnessed. Those three things are very important, right? So the first thing is written, so nobody can argue when it's written black and white, right?
Mhm.
Number two is that it is signed by the person, okay? And number three is that is witnessed. Now it's good practice as well to make sure that when it's been signed, it's dated as well, right? But it's not compulsory, it's not a legal requirement for it to be dated, but it's always a good practice that when you are doing it, because when you see the will pack that probably I will mention here, it's always that, oh, this will is written on this, also da, 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 and because that is there anyway. But when you are finally doing the your signet, your signing the will itself and being witnessed, it is good practice that it should be dated as well. But if you don't date it, but for the fact that the thing has been said, this will was written on so date, that kind of captures that. So what makes a will to be valid again is that it's written, signed, and witnessed.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. Very straight to the point. Written, signed, and witnessed. Um, Before I go into the next question, thank you to those who are joining us, who are here, who have written, and who are still going to write. Please write your comments, write your questions. Mr. Niyi Murele is here to answer every of our questions. You know, no question is too silly to ask. No question is too babish to ask. You know, every question is important here, especially on this platform. Every question is valid. To those on Facebook, please join us on YouTube because I'll be stopping the Facebook one at the moment. Please join us on on YouTube. Sorry, on YouTube. I'll be stopping the Facebook one very soon. The question next is, what happens if my will is out of date for some details, e.g., the guardianship of children that have grown up? What happens if, you know, the person dies and the will is not up to date? Do they just take, you know, just tell us, please? I don't want to say anything
So,
about.
so the question is a little bit. It's not so clear. However, this is. I think that I would kind of allow this question to dovetail what I've just said earlier on. That ideally, your will must be reviewed continuously, right? You are not supposed to leave anything out of date. You're not supposed to. If there is anything, for example, like the example given here, guardianship of children that have grown up. I don't understand what that means. So is it that for instance, okay, in the will you have put that someone is going to be the guardian of a child, but the child is now grown up. Okay, if that is the case, then what it means is that actually your will is a little bit is not reflecting the current situation, and that is why you need to review your will. It's always good to review your will. The moment you see that there's a change, the best thing to do is to review your will. And if you are using a professional, if you're using a solicitor, they have a way of doing what we call a kind of addendum. They call it codicil, something they will just write to reflect that even though I have this will in place, but as a result of certain changes, this is now kind of bringing that change within the will because something has changed. And so that can be an appendage onto the original will. Okay, if you're using a professional, whatever. But if it's something that you're doing yourself, what you can do is just go back and kind of because you probably have the will in your system. If you do, if you have an electronic copy, if you haven't got an electronic copy of the will, then it's a different thing entirely. But the ideal thing is to make sure that your will is not out of date. It's something that reflects your current position from time to time.
Okay, if I may ask, or maybe I'm not sure where this question is coming from or why they're asking,
Mm,
but if I may add, what if in 20 to this is 2022 now, in 2020 the person updated their will, and for for some reason maybe they've been ill, they've just lost focus, and or maybe dementia or whatever it is, or and
mm,
they did a DIY will. So
mm,
if it was a
mm,
solicitor, it's easier because then it could be reviewed, but maybe
mm.
it was a DIY kind of will. 2020, it was done, it was updated, but 2021, maybe they had COVID, they died, but in that process, they had another building which they didn't add to the will. What happens in that case?
It's a very complicated situation, to be honest with you, because it's not reflected.
Mm,
So that kind of thing creates a bit of a vacuum, so to say. And that's why the moment your financial position change and you are still mentally able, you are mentally capable, make sure you do the right thing. Just, except if you don't care, and that's why will is not about planning. It's not just about planning for debt. It's part of your financial planning. That's why, like I said, every year when I go for financial review of my client's portfolio, this is a very crucial question that I ask them. You can't leave it. I had a very sad story of a client of mine. It was my client for a very long time, and every year we would do a review, and I will ask question: Have you reviewed? Have you actually? In fact, his was that he had a huge estate, probably over £1 million, right? And his was that he would say, I will do it, I will do it, I will do it. And unfortunately, he was struck by a terminal illness from nowhere, and the illness didn't give him more than 4 months to live, right? By the time he was going to say, okay, Jack Robinson, I want to do a will, he went into coma. He couldn't do anything again, right? And that was it. So he died without a will, basically. So it's not something that we should push this way, that way. Something that we actually pay attention to. It is part of your financial plan. Otherwise, what you have labored for is going to end up in the wrong hand. Because if it's not in your will, if it's not part of, it's not going to form part of your estate to be distributed. Of course, it depends, and it now depends on, well, how the family has been set up, whether they will be peaceful in order to incorporate and integrate that into how they get things done, or it's going to create a bit of chaos. That's another thing entirely. But the ideal thing is, make sure, as your financial position is changing, make sure you review your will as well.
Yeah. So does it mean the ones that have been put in the will be sorted out amicably, but the one outside the will
You
be a
leave it to
question
the
that
discretion of, yeah,
the
it will just be a
government
discretion
takes,
of it's not,
the
well,
family?
I mean, having said that, it would just be a discretion of, I mean, the fact that you have a will in place it protects, you have something in place, even
Yeah.
though there is something that is not included. uh that's it, okay. So, because the challenge with having a will in place, most especially in UK, in this kind of environment, is
Mm.
it's not just like I said, it creates a lot of, ripple effects, right? The moment that will is not in place, the grant of probate is another thing that you need to think about. So, but the moment there is a will in place that you can present to the government, because when someone dies, the
Mm.
government is interested, the certificate of death will be sent to different whatever, and then that process, it triggers something within the system. That's the
Mm.
system that you live in. And with that system, within that system is where you get into trouble of, oh, there is no will, then the government has to be the one that's going to, do one thing or the other. But if
Mm.
there is a will, let's assume there's a property that is not,
Included.
that is not there. The fact that there is a will, that takes government eyes away from you to start with. Okay, so of course they won't be struggling. Okay, you put something in place, that's it. And the reason why this is important is because the moment that happens and that grant of probate is triggered, the reason why they're doing that is because they want to know whether there is IHT liability in your estate, whether there are inheritance tax liability,
All right.
right?
Yeah.
Because they would say, okay, who are the executors of the will? The executors of the will now have to put all the assets of the individual together. Da, 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 da. If there is a IHT liability, those are the things that you're dealing with on the net, right?
Mm.
Basically, so apart from the fact that, oh, we want asset A, B, C, D to go to different places, but the reason why this is important to government as well is that they want to be sure, can we take part of this estate? Is there a way
Mm.
we can, do we have a share? Is there a portion there through IHT liability? So
Yeah.
that is there, and that's why what you have said is very important. So if it's not, if they say, oh, it's got a will, we are the executors of the will, so they will ask the people to go and put all his assets together, and then of course those are going to be submitted through some forms to the government, right?
Mm.
Declaring what the person has and what it doesn't have. So that's why, even though that's not in the will, but the family knows that, oh, this person knows this property, it forms part of his estate. So the question then is, by the time the executors are putting the assets of that individual together, uh, are they going to put that or are they not going to put that? That's a different thing entirely.
Mm. Sorry, I'm just hanging on to this question in a way. Thank you. You've answered one part of it. Now, this is more organized in the Western world because there
Mm-hmm.
is a law in, well, outside the Western world. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Outside
Mm.
the Western world, where you have the head of the clan who could dictate things, and the person has a will, and this kind of situation happens where there's a will, but there's a property that is not in the will.
Mhm.
w- is this kind of thing applicable outside the country where they're able to solve it amicably? If they don't solve it amicably, does it mean that part that is not in the will goes to the government, or the government don't care in other parts of the world?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. I mean, it's a catch 22 scenario. Okay. because there's, like I said, there is a will. The reason why there's a will is to say this is the way I want my estate to be distributed. Okay, so if there is any part that is not, I mean, the lawyers have a way of having clauses in will that would be generic, basically.
Okay.
I don't know whether you understand what I'm. It's part of the thing that they do
Like
within
an
the will
umbrella,
writing. Yeah, that would be generic. That will cover things that may not be.
umbrella
Yeah,
kind
that
of.
will be, so that can fall into that. It doesn't mean
Okay.
that government will automatically take it. No, it
Okay.
doesn't at
Okay.
all. But it's
Okay.
always good that I mean, when lawyers are writing, when that, and this is one of the reasons why sometimes it's good to use professionals, because
Mm.
when they are writing such a thing, there will be clauses that will cover a lot of things that may not necessarily be at that point. They can say to my child, to my son, and to my great great grandson, so, something like that. That I'm not even, they're not even here yet. So it can be something like that that will cover such assets as well. I don't know whether that makes sense to you,
Yeah,
right?
it does.
So
It
we
does.
do have such things within that legal document that can cater for it. Doesn't mean that government is going to take it over
Mm.
automatically.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you to Tammy Karim for writing the question. Thank you to Gladys Onoyibe. Thank you to Mary Nfogwa Bose Moyelaki. I'll come to the comments. Before the comments, I know what we're talking about now ties down to the question. I know you've mentioned it, but for the sake of answering this person's question specifically, it says, why should I use a solicitor for my will rather than doing a DIY will?
Now, that's a very intelligent question. In my conversation and engagement with clients, I always give them three ways through which they can actually get a will in place. So the first one is DIY, do it yourself. That's number one. And with DIY, I kind of recommend that you can go to WH Smith and get a will pack, right? Which it will cost you less than £50 to get. And then, of course, sit down with yourself and go through the content of it, because the document you're buying is actually is got all the legal whatever within it. It's a legal document, as it is. It's been designed to be that legal document. So what you need to do then with the DIY is that you sit down with yourself and then you make up your mind what you want to do, and you can do the DIY. That's okay. The second option that I give to people is they can use online will companies, and we have many of them that charge very minimally in order to get a will in place for you. And what they will do is, if you contact them, they will ask you to send whatever it is that you want, which is what I've said earlier on. The process starts with you. Sit down and then you design what you want. So you have it, then they will populate that into their system, and of course send the draft copy back to you, and then you look at it, vet it. If you're okay with it, then you say we're okay, and then they can send you the final copy, which you have to basically sign and witness. And the third reason, which is always the one that is most expensive, is actually speaking to solicitors. Now, the reason why you need solicitors more often than not is there are some people that they need to clarify certain things, right? You need to know the position of the law about certain things, right? And if you don't know the position of the law and you do a DIY which does not cover the position of the law as regards what you are trying to do, then you can put a will in place that can be challenged at the end of the day, or it might even be invalid, basically, because you didn't get professional advice. So you need a solicitor when you know that your case is not straightforward. You need some clarification, you need some professional input into your will writing, because of the way your estate is kind of put together. So in such occasions, it is highly recommended that you speak to a professional who can speak to you on the position of the law in that occasion. You don't want to leave things to chance, do something that eventually they will say, "Oh, this is because the law of the law changes. A lot of things might be going on that you are not aware of about the things you are trying to do. If it's very simple, straightforward, if your estate is simple and straightforward, well, no problem. But the moment you know that there are some uh, gray areas as regards your estate and the way things are put together, it is advisable that you go and seek professional advice so that you are not doing something in the dark. That's the reason why you need solicitor. I can't hear you. Sorry.
Thank you very much for explaining that to us. Thank you. Um, I'll go to the questions on the comment before we continue with the ones in Slido. It says, she says, or he or she says, unfortunately, our culture feels making a will is for an old person or someone that is dying. And that is true.
Yeah, and that is not the case at all. As a matter of fact, the moment you begin to gather assets together, the moment you begin to own things, own properties, own investment, own the moment you have things, then you need a will. Because if for any reason you have all those things and there is no will, then there is no expression. There is you're not giving clarity about who to inherit what when you are no longer here. Then you leave that kind of thing to chance. Anybody can, and you know as well. One of the things that in our community, in our culture as well, one of the things reason why this is important is when someone dies without a will, and sometimes there are contentions about who takes what, right? Because there is no clarity. So people will come and fight for these. Families will come and fight for these. I have a case recently which is a typical thing. The wife died, and the wife left everything for the husband, but the relative of the wife felt the husband doesn't deserve, what the wife left for him, because they knew that when the wife was alive, she was the one that was working, she was the one that was paying the mortgage, she was the one that was doing everything, right? That the husband wasn't the one that was doing most of the things. And the woman died, left, a pension benefit, life insurance policy, everything for the man. But the family are not excited, they're not happy. But I guess the man is protected because there's a will in place, right? So he will be at his discretion if he wants to give anything to the family, that's fine. But the family cannot budge in and begin to say, no, you're not going to have it. Because there's a will, a legal document in place that the owner of the asset has actually dictated the way she wants her estate to be distributed. Basically, so that's important for any individual. The moment you have assets, then you need to be stating who would have this when you are no longer here.
True. Thank you. All right. I'm echoing. All right. I was echoing from your end. All right. So,
Can it
yeah.
will be relevant in
Yes,
Nigeria?
yes, yes. Can a will be relevant in Nigeria? Families always tend to overrule things.
Will is relevant everywhere and anywhere. If you want to protect your family, I mean your wife, your survivor, your children, the best thing to do is make sure there is a will. Okay, is will everywhere. It's not about Nigeria, whatever. It's a legal document, and because it's a legal document, if anybody tries to mess around, what the moment you bring that document out and you present it before the court of law, then every other person will run away. It's when there is no will, then that you have created opportunity for them to be fighting over it, because there is nothing. And that's why I said at the beginning of a conversation today is your will is your voice. Even when you are dead, you're still speaking, but you're dead. That's your voice. It's just it goes on, basically. But if it's not there, then there's going to be trouble. You
Yeah,
leave room for chances for people to be fighting over one thing or the other.
true, true. Thank you. Thank you very much. So there's no way the families can overrule things if there is a will. And that is why we're doing this, because so many people might think, oh well, I can't do anything, the head of the clan or the kingdom has said this, and so that's the final, even when there's a will. But with
Yeah.
this information, people know that no, nobody can cheat you
Yep.
any longer. Take it
Yep.
to court. Once you say, oh, I'm taking it to court, they're
Yeah.
gonna run for their dear lives.
Yep,
Okay, because it
they
will be
will, because the document is there. There is no, and you let them know that there is. I mean, for whatever it is, the moment the person is, you make the will reading. The will reading day is an official day. Anybody that cares to be there, they should be there to let them know that this is the will of this person who has that. But when there is none, they'll just say, "Oh, he's my brother, he's my sister, he's my whatever. We sent him to school. We paid for his whatever. Was he there when we were working? Was it?
Mm,
No." And that's because there is no, and the person is gone, there is no voice. But when the will is there, just present it, and that's it.
yeah.
So very important.
I know some people play hanky panky, could change things. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just a Nollywood thing. When you watch Nollywood too much, sometimes there's so many people. I think that's where the thing about using a solicitor
Yeah.
is very will be more effective
Important,
than
yeah.
the DIY, because
Instead of
anyone
doing
can.
use, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's, I
continue.
mean, to be honest, it's always good that you have professionals. I mean, if your estate is something that uh um whatever it is, but you have a way where you have a way, you have a desire, you have an expression of how you want your estate to be inherited. You need to basically make sure that it's well structured, well documented, and the only way you can have that is just get a solicitor. In Nigerian environment, for instance, get a solicitor to do that for you.
Mm,
Here, because of the fact that there is system in place already in the
yes.
Western world, you can get away with DIY things and
Mm,
that sort of things. But
yeah.
over there, you may not be able to get away with DIY things. So you want to actually make sure you put a bit of value to what
Mm,
you're trying to put in place by getting professional advice through a solicitor who, probably might be, you know, one of the people you want to actually nominate as well to be part
mm.
of the executors who's going to do whatever they have to do. Yeah, very
So
important.
that leads me to a question. So, with people who are using solicitors, for example, in Nigeria or outside the Western world, and do they have to pay the solicitors yearly or annually to get their reviews done? Because I'm wondering why people will not go for solicitors. Is it a one-off fee, or when you have to review? I don't know. I'm asking.
It depends. It depends. And it has to be that you sit down, you negotiate with the solicitor.
Okay.
If you are blessed and very rich and you have a lot of things going on for you,
Mm,
the ideal thing, you have a solicitor anyway who's going to be,
yeah.
for you, for that is
Pushing
doing
hard.
things for you.
Mm,
So with that in mind, you probably will have a way of getting him to negotiate for. Will doesn't have to be expensive.
mm,
Even here in particular, I mean, for example, if you want to use a solicitor for you, if you don't have a very complicated estate, it costs less than £300, right, to get a will in place. It's not like you have to pay head, neck, and tail for it. It's only when your estate is huge, then that's when it's a
what's time
different ball
limit?
game.
Mm,
And it's complicated. They have to do some legal work for you. But in a case whereby they don't have to do any legal work, process anything, it's a very simple thing, right?
mm,
So you have a choice of saying, okay, I'm going to spend of £50 and do a DIY that I'm not really sure, or I'm going to spend £250 or £300 that I know I'm taking the burden off my own neck and I'm putting it on somebody else's neck who is a professional within that industry, and I don't have to worry because I know the solicitor's got my back. Basically, so it's a matter of choice. So it depends on how much do you value your asset ending up in the wrong hands. If for any
mm,
reason you get something wrong or create more problem than solution when you're no longer here to defend anything because you're not here.
yeah, true. Thank you. A question from Bosse Oyelakin says, "My assumption is that a will should be secret. Is this assumption correct? Also, if you update frequently, will it not be exposed?"
Yeah, but don't forget, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, it's supposed to be secret, right? It's something that is private to you to start with, or you and your husband, basically. But at the same time, even if you review it, it's still the same process. You are not announcing it. Reviewing doesn't mean you are announcing. You're just making adjustment of your will. You're not going to say, "Oh, I'm about to, and I'm about to change my will. Everybody come." No, that's not what you're doing. The way you did it at the beginning is the same thing. If anything changes, you know what you want to adjust, and you see that whether with yourself, if you're doing a DIY, or with the online company, whether it's if you use them, or you go back to your solicitor and say, "Oh, actually, I want to adjust this area of my will." So it's still the same process. It doesn't. It's you keep it to yourself if you want to. Some people don't see any secret in it as well. They'll tell they can inform one or two people about it, whatever. But it's always good. The good thing about it, you want to keep it as secret as possible. Basically, so I don't think there's any. It's not supposed to be, nothing changes. It's the same process that you use in putting it in place. Is the same thing that you do if there is a need for a review. And I want you to note the fact that I keep saying if there is a need for a review. It's only if there's a need. If there's no need, then there's no need.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. I think it's also takes us to that question which says, "Where should I store my will?" Someone says, "Where should I store my will?"
It's up to individuals where you store your will. There are some people that have where they store their financial documents. Okay, and at home, so you can have a copy there. If you know you want to, you want to be whatever, you can go and find someone that you find quite trustworthy, that you can keep the will weight, right?
Mm.
You can go and keep it with them. Someone that you trust very well, probably one of the executors as well. You can keep it with them. Basically, so there is no, "Oh, this is where you should," but make sure you put it in a place where the person you are giving it to is trustworthy, and the person has got your back.
I think some people, I don't know if this is right or maybe it's just my thinking, that some people store in the bank, some people
Banks,
store in
they said
gold.
you would go and take it to the banks and go and give it to solicitor, whichever way it suits you. Some people
The
would not
vault.
ask the solicitor to keep it, but how many people have vault at home? How many people will say, "Okay, now I've
Safe.
done my will, let me go and keep it with the bank. The bank will take it for me." How many would banks keep will if they are the one that are doing it, and because they offer such services as well? Some banks do. So if they're doing it, then of course you can ask them to keep a copy for you. You're going to have a copy yourself anyway, right? But most importantly as well, whatever you do, make sure you let people know. I have a case at hand, an elderly woman who unfortunately, um, during COVID, had stroke suddenly. Okay, um, and unfortunately now, of course, she's according to the children, who happens to be the one that is seeking my advice.
Mm.
She's recovering, but unfortunately, she's with the stroke came with dementia as well. So she's not coherent, and
Mm.
then loss of memory. 1 minute she's here, then the next minute. Uh, so now they're struggling with will. They believe she's got a will, but they don't know where the will is.
Wow.
So they have to be looking for, okay, let's go and search here, this place, that place, and so on and so forth. And they are asking her, but she's looking at them as if, "What are you
Mm.
talking
Mm.
about?"
Mm.
So that's quite painful. I mean, if she's done what she's supposed to do, so there must be someone that knows about whatever it is that you're doing as well. Maybe
Yeah.
that if anything happens, you can go here, you can go there.
Yeah. Thank you. There's so many about families. Okay, let's take this one that says, "For someone who has no living relatives or is estranged from their family, what are the main things to consider when writing a will?"
So I'm trying to understand what the person. So if you haven't got a
If
family, is he
they
talking
have,
in terms of there is no one to leave to give things to, or is
yeah,
he talking, or is
I,
he talking?
I guess it's like maybe they are the only child. They had parents. They didn't have children, and they're the only one in this world. I don't know. No wife, no nothing, and they're writing a will.
So they don't not. So what do you mean in the
Has
midst
no
of it?
living relatives.
So they haven't got relatives. They don't have anyone to give
I,
their assets to.
mhm.
If that is my own, if that is what you're trying to
I
say
think
there.
so. You know.
So if that is the case, then of course it's your discretion. People give things to charity. They will say, well, even though I haven't got anyone to give things to, you'll be amazed how much assets are being given to charity every year
Mm,
in this huge amount of
mm,
assets being
mm,
given to charity. Just people that find themselves in this kind of situation, if they have something that is dear to them in their heart, for example, maybe maybe they have a passion for a charity that is after particular course of life. Maybe they got arts foundation, cancer research, all sort of things, whatever it is. People do give things to such people, basically, and they could be friends as well. That maybe along your journey in life, they've been very helpful, that you want to say, okay, that is if there is no one to give anything to. There could be friends that can benefit from such things. You just need to think about your life
mm,
generally. Who has helped you thus far? Who are the people that you think deserves to benefit from what you have when you're no longer? Because it will help them. And I've seen that in my career as well. People inheriting from their friends. Is a
mm.
friend that gave me this, when he was about to go. So it happens. If you think wider, if you just open your mind and open your heart beyond your relative and think about those people that have been part of your life, or your journey in life, or something that is dear to you, a course in life that is dear to you, you will find someone to say, okay, I'm going to give this thing to.
Yeah. Is a charity an NG? Would you call it NGO? Because I know outside
Yeah,
Western
yeah,
world they call it more non-government
non-government
organizations.
organizations is
Okay,
that's what
NGO.
they call it in Nigeria mostly,
Yeah.
but the charity organization, it falls
Yeah.
under the charity law as well.
Okay. Okay. So who can be appointed as executor of the will if there are no family members to appoint?
Actually, it's not compulsory that your family should be the executors of your will. There is no rule, no, because
Mm,
you will be surprised that some families might do a worst job. They might not do the best job. So, who should be your executors? It should be people that that they are always getting your back. They will be there, right? There will be people like that just they kind of care for you when you are there and when you're not there. There are people like that that are very close to you. And don't forget, when you're looking for executors, you are thinking of people that basically they are younger than you. So in your will, you're assuming that. I mean, that
elite,
is the logic.
athlete.
It may not
Yeah.
happen, but that's the starting point. You're looking for someone younger than you. So if you are someone, I mean, there will be people like that that actually this person, um I know very well the way he treats me, and so on. He cares genuinely for
Mm,
me. So I know he will do the right thing if I'm not there. And the truth be told, there are people like that. If you know them, you will know them in your life anyway.
yeah.
That these are people that I know, they love me so much, and if I'm not here, they will do the right thing that I actually desire. That's the kind of person you want to be looking for as executors. They may not be in your family, they may be
Mm.
outside of your family, basically, and there is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you to those who are still hanging here with us. We've done 54 minutes thereabouts, and wow, it looks like 10 minutes already. Thank you very much for this. Just two more questions. If there are no questions in the comments, I can't see any questions yet. But the last two questions are, oh, well, let me take one of them. It says, what happens if I know you've mentioned that. What happens if I haven't made a will? It goes to the
So
government, isn't it?
yeah, so basically, what happens if you haven't got a will in place? Your estate will be distributed according to the laws of intestacy, and what that law says is a bit of information. So let's assume husband and wife, right, married. If they haven't got any children, if the husband dies, everything goes to the wife. Everything goes to the wife automatically, right? But if there are children, basically, so the first £270,000 goes to the spouse, right? And then half of the remainder of whatever is left goes to the spouse as well while she's still alive. The rest half is what would be kind of divided among the children. Okay,
Mm.
so and then after that, the children would take the 50%. So if there is no wife, then of course the thing kind of comes on the children. If there are no children, then it falls on the parent. If there are no parents, so just done that way. But the challenge is this thing eventually, if none of the other conditions apply, then everything goes to the crown, and the crown is the government, right?
Mm.
So if for any reason they didn't meet all the requirement that is being put in place under laws of intestacy, the estate goes to the crown, and you'll be amazed how many estate that hands up in the hand of the crown, annually, because of the fact that there is no will in place.
Wow.
So that's why this is very important. Plus, there are occasions whereby you don't want certain people to partake in your estate according to what the laws of intestacy say. But because there is no will, there's no way you can defend that, and you're no longer here. So the
Mm.
law will have to apply, basically. So that's the problem when there is no will in place. When there is no will, there's a void, and that void, the government comes in to take advantage of that.
Wow, wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Finally, what is a trust and, everything around trust? Because I think we've spent all of the time talking about will. I don't know if it's a different
Okay.
topic or.
Amazing, amazing. So let me simplify this in a way that people will understand this. So will is something that is activated when you are no longer here, given how you want things to be given away. But trust, on the other hand, is actually another legal document, but that gives you opportunity to give things away when you are still here,
Mm.
right? So when you're still alive, so it's a legal document that gives you the opportunity as the settler of the trust. You are able to give things away to people who are beneficiaries, and then you appoint trustees who will oversee the trust that you have set up. Okay, so and that has many reasons why you are doing that. If you want to give something to a minor, minor is someone that is still below the age of 18, or you actually just want to give a gift out to some people who will be the beneficiary. You are the settlor, they are the beneficiary, the trustee they are the legal owners of the trust that you're putting in place. They will watch and supervise all the necessary things they're supposed to do. So you as an individual, you are the settlor. But the greatest advantage of trust, when we come to trust, as we're talking about it tonight, is it is it is the instrument that helps you to put things or to take things out of your estate, right, and put it outside of your estate for IHT purposes, right? So, and the reason why that is important is this. It's part of what is used. Trust is part of what is used when it comes to IHT planning, because anything that is in trust, anything that you put in trust, will not form part of your estate at death. So people reduce the value of their estate deliberately by taking things out of their estate and putting it in trust.
Sorry, can you say that again? You said what you put in the trust doesn't.
It won't form part of your estate
Okay.
at death. Anything that is in trust is sitting outside of your estate. So that reduces the value of your estate. So when someone now dies and they're trying to kind of put the value of his estate together,
Okay.
anything that is in trust will not form part of that estate.
Ah, okay.
So, and that is a huge thing. Is a huge is a subject on its own if you have to be talking about it. But apart from the fact that you use it to give things out when you are still alive, right? But it helps, and it kind of helps in IHT planning as well, to make sure that your estate pass to the next generation in a tax efficient way, right? And by that it means you reduce the IHT liability that is actually in your estate, because you have, let's say your estate is worth £1 million today net, but you take something worth 500,000, you put it in trust. Your estate is no longer worth 1 million, is now 500,000, right? So
Mm.
if, let's say something happened yesterday, instead of your estate being valued at 1 million, it will be valued at 500,000, because 500,000 is in trust, which is sitting outside of the estate. So by the time they remove the IHT threshold of 325 from the rest 500,000, you will be paying IHT liability on just 175 instead of paying on 675,000.
Mm.
Are you with me? So
Yes.
that's what trust is. So trust is a legal arrangement whereby you are able to basically put things outside of your estate, or to give things out to people, basically, for inheritance tax purposes. So it's got many things you can use it for, but primarily one is that you want to give things out. So you put it in trust for someone, for a minor, or you want to just, you know, give certain things to certain people to benefit from. So you put it in trust. You don't want them to have everything all at once. So you put it in trust and then you appoint trustees. Okay. But most importantly, when anything that is in trust is sitting down outside of your estate, so it doesn't form part of your estate when your IT whatever is being calculated. So
Later.
that's very, very important.
Yeah. What is the two questions now? What is the inheritance tax? I mean, what is the percentage of the
So
inheritance tax?
So it's 40% of is 40% of anything over 325,000. So let's say your estate is valued at £1 million today. Okay. The maximum that government says you can have before IHT setting is 325,000.
Sorry, can you say that again? So inheritance tax is 40% of anything over.
Okay, let's go back. So let's say today, Mr. A, the estate value is £1 million,
Yes.
and Mr. A, last night something happened, is no longer here. Okay.
Yes.
So that estate, the net value is £1 million.
Mhm.
But unfortunately for him, the threshold, IHT, inheritance tax threshold, is 325,000. So what that means is that that is the maximum amount of the value of your estate, whereby it's tax free for
Okay.
inheritance tax purposes. So you
Oh,
deduct that from 1 million, so we are left with what? We're
675.
675,000. So 40% of 675,000 is going to be the IHT liability on that estate.
Ah,
But
okay.
let's assume that 2 days ago, or whatever it is, Mr. A has actually put 50, has put 500,000 out of that, is put it in a trust somewhere.
Mm. Yes,
So what it means is that as at last night when he was no longer here, it's just 500,000 that will be considered in IHT calculation. So
yeah.
still deduct the 325, it will be left with 175. 40% of 175 is what is going to
Mm.
be the
Wow.
liability. So that's it. And this includes life insurance policies. So if there's anyone listening here tonight, if you have life insurance policies that is not in trust, you might want to consider putting it in trust. Okay. Probably if you want to review it first before you put it in trust, you can get in touch with us. If you want us to look into things like that for you, get in touch. We can review it and then kind of wrap your life insurance policy in trust for you, so that it's sitting down outside of your estate. Most especially if you have done it, some years ago, 3, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, you might need to review it and see how you can actually arrange that and put it in trust for you, so that it's sitting down out of the estate.
Okay. If I may ask, is inheritance tax applicable in Nigeria? Do they do inheritance tax?
It's applicable. In fact, it's actually it's applicable, but the way they actually do it is just quite different. Basically, it
Mm.
is applicable in Nigeria. I'm beginning
Yeah.
to get to know that. The moment they say someone is dead, it's got some things they want you to pay certain percent. I think it's 30% they take it from them of anything. If they get, there's no system to monitor a lot of things anyway. But it's
Yes.
applicable in Nigeria. The only thing is, I mean, all these things are Nigeria. The only thing is, are they following it, or
Just on paper.
yes, yes,
Mm. Yeah,
that's
we
the
get.
challenge.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you very much.
Great point.
And that takes me to you talking about your book. This book is yes, on Amazon. The book on Amazon, which is more like an overall of what you have said tonight, and even more So people
Mm.
who are still thinking, I still don't get this thing, or maybe I need more information. This is a book that's been written by the professional himself. Can you talk a little bit about this book for us, to us, please?
This book, which I kind of call Basic Understanding of UK Financial System, it's what I would describe as a practical guide for wealth creation. Anybody that wants to create personal wealth portfolio in UK, there are certain things that you need to know. In my One of the reasons why I put a book together is, in my going around and actually engaging clients, most especially individual clients within our community, I realized that many people probably will want to do certain things. They want to create wealth, but they don't really understand the system. And one thing about that aspect is, when you don't understand the system, you cannot take advantage of it, you can't maximize it. So it's possible to be in a system and you don't even know how things plays out. So I realized that a lot of people haven't got much information or much awareness or much knowledge about the real financial pillars, things that they can actually do, where they can put their money if they want to create wealth in this environment. They are the wealth pillars in UK, and it's four areas that I actually look at in the book. I look at mortgage, I look at capital investment portfolio, I look at pension, and also life insurance policies. These four is what actually constitute an individual's personal wealth portfolio. So if they want to say, what are you what? It is a combination of these four areas that kind of dictate the value of an individual. When you say someone is worth this amount in estate, is those four that they add together. So in this book, I was able to break it down and be able to let people know, how can I access all these areas? How do I know which area to go? Where do I start from? Because you may not be able to do everything at a time, but you can start from somewhere. And it's not that you have to have huge amount of money. Whatever you have, you can always start from somewhere and begin to step into these areas, basically because you have a knowledge and an understanding of the system. So that's the reason why the book has been put together, and which has been the feedback has been fantastic as well. People that have picked it up and read it, because we simplify all the jargons within the industry so that people can have access to all these opportunities within the system.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Thank you. So, hoping you will get that book on Amazon. Please get the book and let's educate ourselves. Information. Let's guard ourselves with information so that we don't, live in ignorance. So, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time here. To be honest, I don't know what to say. Please, everyone who is still here, those who have hanged with us this far, please just say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to this wonderful man, this
It's a
professional who has
pleasure.
given us a bit of himself
It's a pleasure
tonight.
all the
Thank
time.
you. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate your
Thank you
time.
for having me, and best wishes, and well done for the great work you're doing for our community. I think it's a good thing. Knowledge is power, to be honest. The more we know, the better we are. So, and I
Yes.
pray that everyone that has logged on tonight, they will not just kind of be just logged on. They will do something with all the things that we've spoken about tonight. And all I can say is best wishes to everyone out there.
Yes.
Thank you for having me as well.
How can people reach you if they want to kick off the process from maybe
So
some thoughts
so
in their mind?
so I don't know if I mean, basically, they can, number one, they can go to our website,
Okay, which is
which is www.kingdom-wealth.
how do you spell that? H
So
I
kingdom, so www.kingdom-wealth.
yes. Oh, hyphen
Yeah,
wealth.
just in
Okay.
that,
Yes. It's called.
wealth.co.uk.
Oh,
It should come up. Basically, that's number one. And then my number, I can leave my number as well. If anybody wants to ring,
let me share that page for people who are asking questions. How can we speak with you? Okay, so that's Kingdom Wealth.
yeah, management. That's it.
Wealth. Ah,
Yeah. And basically, I can leave my number as well, or they can
is that
phone the other number there.
okay?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
whichever way is convenient for them, it's okay. All the necessary information about things that we do is there as well. Um, in all these areas that I've spoken about, they are there.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. So it's always so helpful when there's a website to
Yeah,
refer to. So
yeah.
please refer to this website, and you can contact Mr. Niyi Murele. Thank you very much. Grace Favored Maid says, great job. Great job. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, she says, and thank you so much, Basem Yelakin says. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much,
You're
everyone.
welcome. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you. So I'll let you go now because I know there's still more.
Thank you.
Thank
God
you.
bless
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Great
Amen.
pleasure. All the best. More
And
grace.
you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye. Bye. So you've heard it all, viewers. Thank you very much for staying with us to the end. I know it's a really long one, but it's very necessary. 1 hour of your time to learn something, to get informed, inspired, empowered, to know the right thing to do, the next step to take. You need to have that discussion with yourself, with your spouse, with whoever needs to know. Let's share this with other people. Let us educate people more about what is necessary, and not cling on to that old um understanding that, oh, there's still time and we don't have to do it, or it's for the old people, or whatever it is people say about it. So yes, let us do something about it. You can add value to someone by letting them know about this video. Share it with people. Thank you very much. Thank you for always being here with us, and I appreciate your time. I really, really, really do. I really appreciate your time here. Have a lovely evening, have a lovely afternoon, have a lovely morning wherever you are, and take care of yourself. Thank you. Bye bye.